Hello, hello, hello. It's your girl, Tierra Nicole Riley. Super, super excited to be continuing the conversation. We're going to talk about attachment styles. So, in the last video, I talked about how the attachment styles are formed. In this video, I want to get into a little bit about how they show up in relationships, right? And as you understand attachment style, you also get to understand like why certain relationships don't work. In the last video, I recommended reading a book called Attached. I read that book and was like, no wonder the last one ain't work out. Like, mayhem, okay? Mayhem. But I wanted to talk about a little bit about how these attachment styles show up in relationships and, you know, just to kind of continue the discussion. So, just as a refresher, we have securely attached individuals, right? Which is always going to be the goal. Then you have the insecurely attached, which shows up in the form of anxiously attached, avoidantly attached, or disorganized. Okay. And again, disorganized is basically a hybrid between anxious and avoidant. So it might depend on different circumstances, bring out different responses, whatever, right? Like maybe you show up anxiously in family relationships, but then you show up avoidantly in romantic relationships, right? Like it just, you know, remix, if you will. Never really know what you're gonna get. Life is like a box of chocolates, okay? All right, so anxiously avoidant individuals, when they are in relationship, and again, I'm using the word relationship to discuss all relationships. It shows up in family, it shows up in friendships, it shows up in um, romantic relationships, any kind of relationship you have with an individual. This is how it shows up. So for the anxiously attached people, when they experience conflict in a relationship, this is the person that can't stop thinking about it, always wants to talk about it. We need to address it now. If we don't address it, I feel like you don't want to talk to me, like you hate me, you don't love me, right? Like we need to address the issue as quickly as physically possible. Like if we don't address this issue, I'm going to continue to ruminate. I'm going to spiral out of control. I'm going to think the worst. I'm going to start to feel abandoned and, all of these things, right? Avoidantly attached people, when they experience conflict in relationships, they don't want to talk about it. These are the people that need space. These are the people that it's hard to come up with examples because I'm anxiously attached, okay? Sorry. But these are the people that want the space, that don't want to feel pressure to talk about certain things, that don't want to harp on life's challenges. They'd rather just move forward and just pretend like that didn't happen because facing conflict is a problem for them, right? And so, as you can imagine, if you are in a relationship and you have conflicting attachment styles, that's a little tricky, right? Like if what I need as an anxiously attached person is counter to what you need as an avoidantly attached person, it can cause some challenges. Now, I'm not saying relationships can't work if one person is anxious and the other person is avoidant. It just takes intentionality, right? For example, I mentioned in my last video, like the by and large, the reason why my last relationship didn't work is because I'm anxiously attached and he's avoidantly attached. The very thing I need is triggering for you, and the very thing you need is triggering for me, right? That creates conflict. However, I'm anxiously attached, but I lean towards secure. My current boyfriend is avoidantly attached, but he leans towards secure as well. So one, it's a lot healthier. Okay, let's start there. A lot by and large. But when big things have come up in his life, he has wanted to take that space and got quiet and things like that. And that's triggering for me because I'm like, wait, our communication pattern, like the anxiously attached people notice change in relationships immediately. Like when the energy shifts or the communication pattern shifts or like we lock in immediately. Okay? Immediately, and we need to talk about it. Because if we don't talk about it, we got a problem. I'm gonna have a problem at least, right? And so what I have realized is that not that countering relationship styles are like they just don't work. The reality is they take intentionality to work, right? So when I realized that although he presents as secure, he has slight tendencies towards the avoidance side, And I may present as secure, but I have slight tendencies towards the anxious side, right? And so when I realized, like, when big things happen in his life, he disappears. But when he disappears, that sends me in a spiral, and that doesn't feel safe for me. The first time it happened, I was like, oh, maybe he ghosted me. Like, because it was early on in our dating situation. So I was like, all right, whatever. Then he popped back up, like, everything was cool. And I was like, we need to talk about it, right? Then the second time it happened, something big had also happened. And it was legitimate things that had happened in his life. But the second time it happened, I was like, why isn't he answering? He could be in a ditch somewhere. Like, I don't know what's going on. And we're not far enough in our relationship where if something were to happen to him, his people would know to like let me know. You know what I mean? So I'm like literally like my brain is on a spiral. Like, what's going on? I don't understand. Just send me a smoke signal. You know what I mean? Like I'm like the man ain't even been on social media. Like my brain was on fire. And it was at a place of concern, but I was genuinely worried about like what's going on. So after the second time happened, I said, okay. And I said to him, I said, okay, but disappearing doesn't work for me. But I understand if you need space to process big things. I said, all I'm asking is that you give me a heads up beforehand. And I will do my best to give you the space to process. Right? So if you just let me know, hey, I need a couple days, there's some shit going on. I'll call you back when I can. I'll give you the details when I can. You know, whatever. Just give me a heads up that it's happening and I will do my best to respect that. Right? First of all, this man said, I got you. No argument, no mess, no fuss. And we ain't had that problem since. So I say that and I share that example to say that like relationships can work when you have different relationship styles. But on my end, I had to acknowledge one, how much of this is me, right? Part of my reaction is a me thing, right? So first of all, I had to own that piece of it and process that piece of it. Two, I had to communicate that his behavior was impacting me. 'Cause I don't even think he realized that it impacted me or bothered me, right? Like, I genuinely, when we had the conversation, I genuinely do not believe he even was aware that it had impacted me in a real way, right? So I had to use my big girl words and communicate the challenge that I was experiencing when that was when those moments happened, and communicate a game plan that allows space for both of our attachment styles to be honored. I'm saying all I need is a heads up, and I will give you the space that you're asking for, right? I won't push the conversation. I'll wait for you to come back around and talk about it on your own time, right? So it's really possible, but it takes two mature individuals who are willing to work through and navigate those challenges out of the angle of I'm willing to do what it takes to be in a relationship with this person, right? So with that being said, it's definitely possible. And obviously, the goal is secure. Interestingly enough, in my understanding of the attachment style, which I've done a lot of deep diving on attachment style because it is a topic that I'm really, really interested in, particularly developing attachment styles. Because obviously, I'm a mom and I'm a psychologist. I have a psychology background, so this stuff is fun for me. Interestingly enough, when an insecure person is dating a secure person, them being insecure does not take away from their secure status. However, when you are insecurely attached and you date someone who is securely attached, it actually helps you move closer to the secure direction, which I think is so beautiful because it doesn't harm their attachment style, but it heals yours. And that is the most beautiful thing in the world, right? Um, and I by and large, my partner, I would say, is securely attached. I think when big things happen, he kind of leans into his avoidant attachment style. But by and large, he's securely attached. And there have been moments where he has put my anxiously attached energy at ease simply by existing in a relationship with me. So I thought that was a beautiful little note. And to then be experiencing it's pretty cool. So anyways, that's all for today. But drop your thoughts in the comments. See you next time.